Our next guest is not jumping onto the crypto train anytime soon. Most recently, he wrote an op-ed claiming, quote, Web3 is a bunch of bull hockey and the crypto industry is just a dangerous get-rich-quick scam. Joining us now to discuss is Matt Stoller. He's the Director of Research at the American Economic Liberties Project. Good morning, Matt. So you wrote an op-ed for CoinDesk as well titled Cryptocurrencies, a Necessary Scam, comparing crypto to the anti-monopoly movement. What's your thesis here?
So I wrote this, actually I wrote it in 2021, in December 2021, and I thought it would be nice to republish it today. So I wrote at the height of the bubble. And the basic idea is that cryptocurrencies are a representative of a disillusioned public, people who are upset and think that the financial system is corrupt because of what they saw in the financial crisis. And they decided, well, maybe what we should do is create our own money, private money, to escape the sort of tentacles of government. But really, it's just a cynical, sort of dumb set of get-rich schemes controlled by insiders. And like Sam Bankman-Fried he's like obviously stupid and is not the guy behind this. There's just a bunch of venture capitalists who have been manipulating these crypto markets from the beginning. And this isn't the last thing. This isn't the last time it's not the last collapse we're going to see. It's very similar to the Florida land bubble in the mid-1920s when people all over the country were kind of disillusioned from World War I. They were trading these lots of lands, many of which didn't exist, but they thought they did until it all came crashing down. And that's pretty similar to crypto. There's no use cases. It's kind of a whole silly thing. It's just a bunch of people who are, who are frustrated that the economy is unfair or feels rigged, and they got into this get-rich-quick scheme because of bad monetary policy choices. So that's what's going on here.
Well, you say crypto will all end in tears. Why is that so?
Well, I mean, I wrote this in December of 2021, so I think you can just tell.
Oh, okay.
People, so actually, I asked you guys.
You foresaw the current climate we find ourselves in right now.
When I agreed to let you guys publish it on condition that you say it was written in December of 2021, and you still won't put that on the op-ed. So please do that. Please have your editors do that. Because it's important. It's a historical artifact. People get it right sometimes. I got it right. And I don't know that much about crypto, but I know nonsense when I see it. I know bubbles when I see them. And this was obvious to a lot of people. You see this, like you just had a congressman on, Richie Torres, super corrupt, really close to all the FTX guys, tried to block. I mean, the way that he lied to you about that letter, which was clearly designed to stop the SEC from looking into FTX, and he did it at the bidding of FTX. And then he comes on, and back in March, when the SEC was actually trying to stop all this garbage, and today he's blaming the SEC for the things that he himself was doing. Like, that's just so cynical. I mean, it's crazy. And that's true with like the venture capitalists at the Andreessen Horowitz, it's Sequoia, like like so many of the insiders, like they're cashing out on you guys. And like, that's what this is all about. They created fake money and tried to convince normal people to give them real money in return for fake money. This is just all a scam.
In all fairness, Congressman Torres isn't here, so I'm not going to,
I'm not going to let this.
Gary
Gensler wasn't there. I mean, he's corrupt and should resign. It's absolutely outrageous. Tom Emmer is the same thing. The friends of your show are the bad guys here. I'm sorry to say this, but you guys should recognize, I mean, I'm glad you pushed back, but he lied to your face about that letter. And that was outrageous.
Hey, you know what? I've been lied to many times. That's part of being at least a man in New York. But one of the things that you brought up here is this idea of basically this is something these venture capitalists should, they're the ones being who should suffer, and it seems like they have. They've lost a lot of money here with FTX. They've lost.
No, they did well. I mean, okay, so yeah, they're losing a little bit of money now, but like Andreessen Horowitz and and Sequoia and a bunch of the insiders, when they invested in a lot of the ventures that they went into, and they didn't just buy equity stakes. They, in many cases, and I don't know about FTX, but they got coins which they sold. And so Andreessen Horowitz, which were really the main people, they didn't invest in FTX, but they invested in a lot of this space. They were some of the early lobbyists on this in DC, and they did really well on their fund because they were selling coins that they got from their early investments to, they acted as crypto insiders, right? This is just a bunch of insiders skimming off of people coming in late. The whole thing's a Ponzi scheme. That's why you have someone so dumb as SBF who can become like such a significant player. It's like the whole thing was rotten, and it was set up to be that from the get-go.
So we have this whole debate going on between who should regulate it or not. Should it just go unregulated and let people lose their money just to sort of say, hey, look, you know what? If you want to burn cash, that's your problem. Why should the government regulate it? Why shouldn't we just let it go and let people lose the money? If that's the case, let them lose their money. Why should government even be involved in it other than if it's being used specifically to do other kind of crimes such as drug trafficking, et cetera? But other than that, why not just let it caveat emptor and good luck, Charlie. It's your fault for losing the 3-card Monte.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one thing to note is that I don't think there is much money left in this space. It's hard to get real liquid capital out at this point. So a lot of the money has been lost. I think the question for me or for people who want a reasonable society is, how do you eliminate this space as quickly as possible? And that's the only question, because crypto should never have been allowed to emerge. It should always, once it started in 2009, and then as it became more sophisticated, all of these ventures which don't represent any meaningful economic activity, it's just high finance without purpose, they should have been regulated as securities. And if they had been regulated as securities, they wouldn't have existed, because the bare minimum of disclosure, compliance costs, and consumer protection would have shown that there's no point to any of it, and it would have become not economical. And unfortunately, the lobbying power of these very cynical people, and also poor regulatory choices by the Obama and Trump administrations, allowed this space to emerge, and effectively a gambling, money laundering, Ponzi scheme rich area that was sort of sitting in the gray area of law. And by the time we actually had someone good emerge, Gary Gensler, who tried to actually put a stop to this stuff, he had to go through really laborious processes. Immediately when he took office, for example, he started investigating Terra Luna and Do Kwon. And it took him 11 months to even enforce a subpoena. And by the time the court said, okay, fine, you can go ahead and get information, the Ponzi scheme had already collapsed.
Right, which makes me wonder. I mean, blowing up a Ponzi scheme, letting it completely collapse on its own, and having all these people lose their money, shouldn't that be better than even? Isn't that even more effective and efficient than having this regulatory regime where people basically can say, there's this regulation. I'm not comparing the two, but there is that argument that says, we actually should let insider trading exist on Wall Street so that the average investor knows that the system is rigged anyway. So why bother? They should just feel that it's rigged so that they don't waste their money on this. Shouldn't maybe that same mentality at least apply to crypto, where people say, yeah, you know what?
That would be terrible.
It's probably a giant Ponzi scheme, and it's a centralized exchange. God knows who, some guy might end up buying real estate in the Bahamas and spend it on whatever poly thing he's got going on, and God knows. Yeah, I
see what you're saying, and I guess I don't think there's an analogy between insider trading on Wall Street and unregulated crypto, because I actually, Wall Street and real finance represents real activity. Like, there's a point to it. So insider trading on Wall Street is actually harmful to the real economy, real economic activity, whereas crypto just isn't anything. It's just a bunch of.
Really? So you don't see any potential for crypto as a technology? Because a lot of people in this day will look at this crash and say, we've seen this before time and again. We've seen crypto have its highs, have its crash, and then it keeps going and it goes higher the next cycle.
No, blockchain is just an inefficient spreadsheet, and there's almost no use cases where you can do it, where you can use blockchain in a way that a centralized database or some other technology wouldn't be better. Like, there's no technology here. This is all just a scam, like all of it. And it's kind of surprising to me that we still, that, like, everyone's trying to pretend that like SBF is some anomaly, like this is just fraud, as opposed to the fact that he was part of a whole series of crashes. I mean, and to your earlier point, yeah, I don't think the Congress should regulate, they should add any more regulatory authority. There's plenty of regulatory authority here. Like, we just, if the Congress should do anything, it should just give Gary Gensler a bunch of more money, and maybe some like extraterritorial jurisdiction. But like, really what you just need is like a lot of handcuffs, and a lot of lawsuits to like clean this area up, because there's plenty of authority here already. But no, the technology.
Matt, what's your outlook for 2023 in the industry?
I mean, I think that the industry will like gradually, I don't know in 2023, but like it'll gradually just become like Beanie Babies or something. It's like there are still Beanie Babies around, and like people will still have Bitcoin, but it's not going to be very important. And hopefully we can get there quickly, and hopefully we can minimize the harm.